In today's show, let's look back at all of the action from Tuesday. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily fantasy basketball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd and I am the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com and at Yahoo Sports Australia. And you can find me on Twitter, as always, at redrock_bball and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. This episode of Locked On Fantasy Basketball is brought to you by TrueBill. TrueBill is the new app that helps you identify and stop paying for the subscriptions that you don't want and need, and can even negotiate better deals on those that you want to keep. Thank you also for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. We've got 5 games to talk about today. We'll talk about those games, as well as some other news. Did a big injury and COVID report show earlier in the day, so you can go check out some news there. But let's talk about some other things that have happened. There was a trade that went down in the NBA. Mia One was traded from the Jazz to the Thunder, along with a second-round pick, and he was subsequently waived. And in order to take on One, so they could waive him, we had to say goodbye to Gabriel Deck.
I could barely recognise my own dick.
So Deck is waived. That's going to be the last time we hear that soundbite, I reckon. See you later, Gabriel Deck. Mia One might catch on somewhere else, but these have no fantasy relevance whatsoever. But this does. Damian Lillard out again tomorrow. And there's going to be a meeting apparently in the next day or two between the top guys in Portland, coaches, front office staff, Lillard, and decide what they need to do, whether that includes shutting him down for an extended period to sort out this abdominal issue. I may have said something of the sort 10 weeks ago, but here we are. The Blazers are shit. Lillard's ab issue isn't getting any better, and because they're shit, and because it isn't getting any better, I think the chances of Lillard's season ending early are pretty high. I don't know that at all. I just know what I was told weeks ago. I know what has transpired is basically exactly what I said weeks ago. And we're just waiting to get to the final stage of that at the moment. It's not great news, obviously, for NBA fans, Blazers fans, people who have Damian Lillard. Make sure you grab Anthony Simons. And look, Simons is not going to be good all the time. He had a great game yesterday and has been shit in nearly every other game. But he is the guy to add. And then if he gets hurt, Dennis Smith becomes an absolute must-add. But this is not great for Lillard. Even if it doesn't end his season, I wouldn't be surprised if we get 2 weeks off and see what happens. And then it could be that, well, in 2 weeks it hasn't improved again after a rest and then a cortisone shot and now another rest. It might be it for him. We will see. It is terribly bad news. Larry Nance Jr. is doubtful for tomorrow. He received an inconclusive COVID test, so he's doubtful. So he's not ruled out. If he gets 2 negative tests before tomorrow's game, he will play. But without him, it boosts the value, obviously, of Yusuf Nurkic, Nasir Little, and Bob Covington. So Little and Covington get that boost to become obvious 12-team league guys if Nance does happen to be out. And then the Jazz have listed everyone on the injury report. Jordan Clarkson and Donovan Mitchell are probable, while Royce O'Neal, Rudy Gobert, and Bojan Bogdanovic are all questionable. Injuries out of nowhere, maybe not so much the Mitchell one. Interestingly, he's probable. But tying that in, along with Ingles being out with COVID, makes me think that there is a rest day coming up for the Jazz players. Hassan Whiteside also questionable. But you might be looking to stream in a Whiteside. You might stream in a deeper league Jared Butler. You might stream in a Trent Forrest. You might look to stream in a Rudy Gay. It might blow up in your face because these blokes may not sit. But the fact that they're all listed on the same day, when Ingles goes out as well, is a little iffy to me. We'll see which direction that ends up going. Let's talk about the top ads in fantasy over the last 24 hours. We start in Sacramento. Damian Jones up 35%. And now Chimezie Metu has entered COVID protocols, along with Rashawn Holmes. And Jones is an ad until Holmes comes back. Simple as that. Simon's up 27%. Yep, great ad. Brandon Clark up 26. 3 more games for the Grizzlies this week, and he looks pretty good. There are absences there, and there's no guarantee he remains a 12-team must-roster player. In fact, he probably doesn't. But for now, yes, he's a good ad. Justin Holiday, shit game from him today, but worth adding with Brogdon and Levert and Duarte out at least one more game. Obi Toppin, well, we didn't know that Julius Randle was coming back. He came back, so Toppin can get Jack Armstrong all the way out of here.
Get that garbage out of here!
Maxi Kleber, good add with Porzingis out. Jalen Smith, at least until Ayton comes back, which literally might be next game. Smith's valuable, but it's only just a short-term stream. Evan Fournier, why? Why was the disease scrotum added in 11% of leagues? I guess because to stream today, but you can drop him. Terrence Ross, that's a good ad. And Caleb Barton with Jimmy Butler out tomorrow, that is a good ad as well. If we go to the top players who have been dropped, Isaac Okoro down 13%, absolutely. Kemba Walker down 12%.
Hello.
Goodbye. Caldwell Pope down 11%, no problem with that. Thibault down 11%, no worries. Mason Plumlee and Jalen McDaniels, yep, drop those guys in 12-team leagues, I think. Patty Mills, surprised to see that many people dropping Patty Mills. I do believe Patty Mills will become a drop. And Kyrie is back tomorrow, but it's only for one game. So I'm not sure that he's a must drop. Kyle Anderson in COVID, drop him. Eric Gordon down 8%. I'd probably hold there. And Peyton Pritchard down 8%. I think that's a pretty solid drop as well. But if you want to jump in and drop some of the subscriptions that you've got, or some of the ones you don't even know that you've got, why don't you find out about which ones they are at TrueBill? TrueBill is the new app that helps you identify and stop paying for the subscriptions that you don't need, that you don't want, and the ones that you simply forgot about. On average, people save up to $720 dues a year with TrueBill. And because companies make subscriptions hard to cancel, TrueBill makes it incredibly simple. Just link your accounts and TrueBill will cancel your unwanted subscriptions in one tap. And your TrueBill concierge is there when you need them to cancel unwanted subscriptions so you don't have to. TrueBill has over 2 million users and has helped them save over $100 million. So don't fall for subscription scams. Start canceling today at truebill.com/lockedonnba. Go right now. truebill.com/lockedonnba. It could save you thousands a year. truebill.com/lockedonnba. All right, let's go on to games. Yeah, first game. The San Antonio Spurs went to Toronto and they got pounded. Pretty hard, in fact.
Giggity.
They've struggled a lot without DeJounte Murray. 129-104. Murray could return as early as tomorrow. It wasn't the greatest Derek White night, but it wasn't great for anybody. 22 minutes only for White. 12, 4 and 2, 2 steals and a block. He's still top 50 over the last 2 weeks. But yeah, they just pulled the starters really early here. We got 28 minutes out of Devin Vassell, and McDermott and Walker are still out. Vassell is a 12-team league player. We're starting to see it now. Now, what Popovich does moving forward, I don't know. But 15 points and 3 threes is good. While Pirtle, the buy low bump, there it is. 19, 12, and 4. Unfortunately, the free throws are an absolute disaster. 20% on 5 attempts kills you. But good otherwise counting stats. He only played the 23 minutes. Well, Joshie Primo, impressed with him. 28 minutes, 15, 5 and 4, 2 threes and 2 blocks. Now, it is a hard path for him to get enough minutes to matter in fantasy. We're going to need a couple of injuries for that to take place. But I can see him establishing at least a regular rotation role. If the Spurs make any, or if they ever made in-season deals, I would say Lonnie Walker would be out of there. But they don't, so he's not. And Primo's going to just sit on the sidelines. Next season, when Walker is likely out of there and Bryn Forbes isn't back, I think Primo will have a regular rotation role. A really good performance from him. Calderon Johnson, man. Popovich said it best. What are your thoughts on Calderon Johnson? He's not playing well. Yeah, I know. 6, 4 and 4. 23% shooting. He is undoubtedly better than this, but that does not mean that you have to hold on to him in 12-team leagues. I know literally everybody disagrees with me on this because I look at the roster percentage and he's rostered in every single league. He should not be. He should not be. Points leagues, I get holding. In category leagues, he has historically been a bad category league player. Nothing's changing. He's got the opportunity. He's a much worse prospect than Devin Vassell. He's not that good. And he's in a nadir for sure. Like, he'll improve from here. But he is not a guy that is a must-hold player. Trey Jones started 5 points, 4 assists, but yeah, not great. Not a great game in general for the Spurs. On to the Raptors, though. How about old Frederick VanVleet? I think I had him at about 14 or 15 preseason. And people were so off on him now. Can't take him, the field goal percentage. And that is why you punt field goal percentage. 33 points, 7 triples, 7 assists, and 2 steals. Big percentage, 52 fantasy points. Over the last 2 weeks, he's the number 4 ranked player. He's 11 for the season. I'd say sell high, but no, don't. Like, actually don't. Because no one's giving you first round value for VanVleet. No reason he can't be a first round player. He is this good. He is their best player, I think. I remember having an argument, debate with Sean Woodley in the preseason show, and he said, no, it's clearly Siakam. I'm like, I'm not so sure. I reckon it might be Fred. I feel more confident in saying it's Fred now. Scotland Barnes, only 11 points and only 7 shots. I think low usage is going to be a persistent problem for Barnes with this lineup intact. But that doesn't matter when you get 9 rebounds, 8 assists, 1 steal, and 1 block. It's the anti-Calderon Johnson. They're good numbers there from Barnesy. Although, again, he has started to drop off a little bit from that hot streak of being a top 25 player, and that is why you sold high, if you could. Still got value. Sell high does not mean, and I see this confused all the time, and I know I talk about it a lot. Like, this guy, I saw a thread on Reddit today about Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday, over the last month, is the 3rd ranked player. Should we sell high or should we hold? Like, if you can sell high to get top 10 value, you 100% do it. You don't have, now he's playing well, I hold. Guys, if you get that value back, which is clearly unsustainable, you do it. If not, you hold. It's the most simplest equation, yet so many people don't understand that. Gary Trent, good bounce back from Gaza.
Nice, Gary!
Now, 0 rebounds is weird, but 21 points on 50% shooting with 2 steals, 3 threes. Again, someone wanted to drop him after last game. It was foul trouble. He's back in business. Siakam, 18, 12, and 5, while the Jedi, OG, and Anunoby.
But what about scarves?
OG.
Balenciaga
Stop,
ones.
OG. You better stop, OG.
His shooting is real rough. I think he's a bit of a buy low. 14 and 7, 2 threes, 2 steals, 3 assists, while the wiki Chris Boucher, 19 minutes. The big sneeze, Precious Achua, 19 minutes. And guess how many minutes Ken Birch played? 19. This is the problem with Boucher. Now, he still had 2 steals and 2 blocks. All right, but if you're getting 19 minutes a night, I don't want you on a 12-team roster. And this is how the roster's going to look. Basically, their bench rotation is 3 centers. I don't know how they're doing it, but that's what they're doing. And you got some minutes there for Champagne. You got Delano Banton playing 6 minutes. That's just garbage minutes for Banton and Bonga and Flynn. And obviously, Mahalo will get some of that playing time. But it's not a great distribution of minutes for Boucher to have any sort of must roster ability for the rest of the season. This next game was an absolute cracker, I thought, between 2 really fun young teams, the Memphis Grizzlies and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Memphis wins at 110-106. Ja Morant, 26, 5, and 6, 2 steals and 2 blocks. Inefficient from the field, but high usage. Great from the free throw line. Still didn't hit any threes, but when he's bringing defense like that, it's excellent. He is now the 17th ranked player this year, taking gigantic steps forward that I did not expect him to do. He's been excellent. Des Bane, only 11 points, but one of the criticisms I had with Bane and why he was sell high to me was what he was doing was so dependent on high volume scoring with high level efficiency. He can be an efficient scorer, no problem. But my problem is that when the shots dropped off, could he bring anything else? Well, he did it in this game. He only took 10 shots, only scored 11 points. That's a bad night for Bane. But when he gets 7 assists, 1 steal, and 2 blocks, that's great. Now, of course, I have 0 faith in that shit continuing, but it was good. Jaren Jackson, 22 points with not much else. And Brandon Clark, 3 blocks, 60%, 13 and 9 in 25 minutes. Clarkey does have some 12-team league value for now. Tyus Jones played 25 and had 12 points, while Killian Tilly started once more and had 5 points. Since starting, his value has dropped, which is pretty weird. While Jarrett Culver didn't get the 30 minutes of last game, and he remains one of the worst top 10 draft picks in recent memory. Onto the Cavs. They got a bunch of players back, which is, or actually by a bunch, I mean they got the one who's really important back, and that is Darius Garland. 36 minutes in his first game back, 27, 4, and 10. He looked a bit rooted at the end, to be fair, but that is great. 26 shots, 35% not great, but 46 fantasy points, and just getting him out there is a win. Evan Mobley, 17 and 8, while Jarrett Allen, 22 and 12 with 1 steal and 3 blocks. I have done my December awards show. Actually, I haven't recorded it. I've done all the awards. I wonder who you think for the Cavs, how many Cavs, and who makes it into my All-Star team, if any. Larry Markkinen, 36 minutes. Better game from Larry, 13, 6, and 5, but he had some early foul troubles as well. He's a soft hold for 12-team leagues, not must roster, while Kevin Love, 18 and 10. Unfortunately, after being unbelievable, shooting nearly all season, he didn't hit the shots at that same rate. Again, this is what I mean when I say Kevin Love's not sell high, because he's shooting 50% from 3. This is why. Because it's impossible to keep that up. And saying someone's a sell high doesn't mean they need to be dropped. 18 and 10 is still good, but 33% from the field and 67% from the line hurts the overall production. They started Lamar Stevens. He had 1 point. They closed with Brandon Goodwin. He had 2 points. There is huge minutes available there for Chetty Osman when he gets back, and I think that he has to get those minutes over Rondo. Rondo is going to play maybe next game, but again, he is to me just like a 16-team league guy or a pinch stream option. I'm going to start using that more. A pinch hit stream option when you need assists. That's who he is to me, not a must roster 12-team league player. I could be wrong. I just cannot see that happening at all. But what I can see happening is me jamming Built Bars straight into my cake hole. Because Built Bar is the best tasting protein bar ever. Forget candy bars. They're banned at this house. You come to this house with a candy bar, the door gets slammed right in your face. Jack Armstrong just pipes up and says, get that garbage out of here. Because I don't want sugary treats. I want delicious protein bars. They are high in taste and high in calories, but low in fat, low in sugar, low in carbs, and low in calories. And you can get it for 15% off. Try the full range of flavors of Built Bar at Built.com. And if you use our code LOCKED15, that's LOCKED15, you can save 15% off of Built Bar. Built Bar is amazing. It is fantastic. It tastes great. If you don't believe me, just try them. Just try them. They are bloody good. Built Bar. Built different. BetOnline is the number one spot for all your odds, for your props, and lines. As football season comes to a close, the playoffs are very, very close. Getting ready for the playoffs here in this house. Unfortunately, the Dolphins won't be a part of that, but that's fine because I can still place bets at BetOnline, the number one spot for all sports action this season. So head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get a welcome deposit bonus of 50% if you use our code LOCKEDON. From basketball to football, the NHL, boxing, UFC, or right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait and take advantage of all the fantastic offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your favorite sports. BetOnline is where the game starts. The Pacers and the Knicks. The Knicks win 104-94. Good win from the Knicks. Let's talk about the Pacers. They were without Brogdon, LeVert, Duarte. Those guys are going to be out again tomorrow. So Kiefer Sykes, great stream if you've got room. 38 minutes, 22, 4, and 6. Sexy stuff. Dwayne Washington, 37 minutes. 17, 2, and 4. High volume, but he's going to get high volume again tomorrow. Sexy stuff. Domantas Sabonis. How do you take 9 shots, admittedly 12 free throws, but 9 shots when you're got Sykes and Washington there? He's been so up and down this year, Sabonis, 116th over the last 2 weeks, and that's 42% on the line in this game. No steals, no blocks, no threes, 15, 8, and 4. What a up and down season. I don't know how best to describe it otherwise. Justin Holiday was shocking in this game. 3 points in 20 minutes on 1 of 7 shooting. He is still at least a short-term stream for Wednesday, and that's it. While Miles Turner had 5 points with 2 blocks, a rough night there for him. I saw some Pacers guy tweet out today that it's obvious to him that Lance Stevenson should be the starting point guard going forward, and I could not have laughed harder, and I resisted so hard to comment on that tweet. Lance had 5, 3, and 2 in 17 minutes. He might get a 17-minute night roll tomorrow. The infatuation people have with a bloke who's not a good basketball player and is an equally worse bloke, maybe worse, is astonishing to me. The lionization of Lance Stevenson is so baffling to me. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. What's so good about him? Oh, he blew in LeBron's ear, Josh. Cool. I was going to say something horribly rude then, but I will not. Let's talk about the New York Knicks. Julius Randle was back. So that means obviously we are dropping Obi-Wan.
I don't want to hear any more about Obi-Wan.
30 and 16 for Randle with 4 assists. Good from the field, bad from the line. While Rowan Barrett got really hot early on, ended with 32 and 8. It took 60% shooting to get there. It's still, everything else still worries me with him, but he played 42 minutes. I don't think he's must roster in category leagues. In points leagues, sure. Don't think he is in category leagues. Well, Alec Burks, do we do it again?
Alec Burke.
He started, he played 36 minutes, he went 14, 6, and 4 with 3 steals. Bad shooting, but still good volume. With Kemba uncertain, with Juice McBride moved to the bench and playing 3 minutes. Do you grab him and stream him? Like, maybe. I just don't know what to make of it. Quickly played just 22 minutes, and Tibbs is allergic to starting this bloke. You can just leave him as a streamer, not a 12-team guy. They also started Taj over Mitch Robinson. Robinson had 8 and 8, and Taj had 4 and 6. I think Rich Mobinson. He'll go back and start next game, and he is fine if you need the particular things that he does. And in a points league, I wouldn't say that Mitch Robinson is must roster. While Toppin started and played 45 minutes last game, played 9 here, and McBride, as I said, played 3 after starting last game. And the diseased scrotum of Evan Fournier had 0 points in 22 minutes with 2 assists and a steal. Why is he rostered in so many leagues? Surely you figured this out 6 weeks ago. Like, he can go, and he can go with the absolute swiftness. The next game, the Phoenix Suns and the New Orleans Pelicans. The Suns had this under control. Then Devontae Graham went bananas, brought him back, and the Suns pull away 123-110. Booker continues to play really well. 48 fantasy points, 33, 9, and 4 with 3 threes. But the big surprise, almost of the day, is the big fella. Bismack Biyombo. 29 minutes, 16 and 6, 2 steals, 3 blocks, 100% from the field. That is an excellent line. It's excellent. But it required Jalen Smith getting into foul trouble, getting a knock in the head and going to the locker room, and DeAndre Ayton and JaVale McGee being out. Those 3 things are not regular occurrences. Biyombo, I know has played really, really well, and he probably does deserve a roster spot somewhere. But the reality of the situation is he's going to move into he's going to have his 10-day expire. Maybe they find a spot for him. They just did cut Chandler Hutchison, who is on a 2-way though. Maybe I don't know who they signed for that other spot. Can they find a regular roster spot for him? But again, he'll be the 4th center. So this is great, but you may literally get 0 usable games out of Biyombo moving forward. As for Smith, 12 and 5, foul trouble, injury, as I said. I think you can drop him pretty clearly because Ayton should be back next game. While Bridges had 23 points with 5 threes and Chris Paul 11, 5, and 15. But the Suns should get Ayton and Crowder back and then McGee back 1 game after that. On to the Pelicans, Devontae Graham. The inconsistency is annoying, but 28 points, 6 triples, and 6 assists is great. While the big fella, Jonas Valanciunas. 25 and 16, big game from him. And again, it happens all the time. Yeah, Jackson Hayes comes in, he starts. Or maybe we hold on to him and he can maintain value. Look, this shit just doesn't happen. It's just so hard to see how that works. And I think we've had so many illustrations of that this season, of trying to shoehorn multiple centers together to get big. It's like, this is currently what's happening with the Omer Yurtseven thing in Miami, where he's filling in and putting up good numbers. I just honestly just don't see how he's playing 30 minutes a night as a starter next to Bam. Hayes played 13 minutes. He had 5 points. Drop him. Ingram, buy low, really in play here. 16 points on 28%, while Herbalife Jones had 9 points. He did still have 5 assists, a steal, and 2 blocks, which is good. And he is fine as a 12-team league player. But with Ingram back, that high usage, high efficiency, high minutes role has dropped off. And that's what pushes him back to being that fringe sort of player. And I get a lot of hate for that. Oh, man, I believe he's just going to roll long term. They're going to shut Ingram down. Zion's not going to play. They'll trade Valanciunas and they'll turn the keys over to Jones. He's not that player. He just isn't this high usage sort of guy. He's a nice streams guy for steals and for blocks. He'll have the occasional offensive game. He's like Royce O'Neal, but probably a better, higher level prospect, obviously. Have him, fine. But try not to overvalue too much. Josh the Hitman Hart, 15, 11, and 5. Good game from him in 37 minutes. And Nickeil Alexander-Walker, why the hell is he still being held on to?
Get that garbage out of here!
Now, I looked at Alexander-Walker and thought, all right, 30 minutes, starting shooting guard. They've cleared the roster spot for him. Let's take a flyer. Pick 90, pick 100. If he plays the minutes and takes the shots that I think he's going to take, he will be valuable at that spot. Well, he's been so bad on the court, actually horrible, that I'm not even sure he's an NBA rotation player moving forward at this point. He is, but if he is, your team's probably really bad. He doesn't know how to take the right shots. He's like Russell Westbrook, but if he had 10% of the talent. That's how bad he's playing at the moment. Drop him. Absolutely, just get him all the way out of there. There is no reason to have him on a 12-team roster, on a 14-team roster. Shit. On a 16-team roster, it's getting pretty dicey as to whether you should hold Nickeil Alexander-Walker at this point. Let's go to the last game of the day. The Sacramento Kings and the Los Angeles Lakers. The Lakers win at 122-114. I don't even know what to say about the end of this game. The game was over. That's not why the Kings lost. But just some very, very weird stuff going on at the end of the game with that jump ball call. You can interpret that one for yourselves if you want. It seemed very wrong. But just weird stuff. Always weird stuff when the Kings play. Always. Without fail. That's why they're the Kings. Or the Kangs, some may say. Budrick Hield. Another big game. 26, 7 triples, 5 rebounds, steal and a block. That's 2 big ones in a row for Bud. And by 2, why hold up 3 fingers? 2 big ones in a row. You know it's probably not going to stick, but his minutes are wildly fluctuating. Gone from 24 up to 33. He was in the closing lineup here again, while Fox, outside of whatever happened at the end, was pretty good. 30 points, 33 minutes, 6 assists, hit all of his free throws. A guy that's been so wildly inconsistent this season that it's good to get some big games out of him. Tyrese Halliburton, some rough offense, 7 points on 10 shots, but he did give us the 9 assists. Yeah, he was always going to fall back when Fox returned, and we're seeing that play out now. While Bagley had 12 boards, he played 24 minutes, and he remains a horrible, horrible fantasy contributor for category leagues. Under no circumstances he must roster. Damo Jones is worth holding, 11-4 until Holmes comes back, while the pencil Harrison Barnes. Barnesy! 14-6-5 with 3 threes. Pretty good game there. For the Lakers, they started again with LeBron at center. 31-5-5. He continues to roll. While Malik Monk, also unbelievable. 24 points, 6 triples, 4 assists, a steal and a block. Great shooting. Big numbers. Top 30 over the last 2 weeks. Absolute must-roster player. I know pre-game Frank Vogel said something like, Kendrick Nunn's going to come back. We're going to play him a lot of minutes. Kendrick Nunn's not a very good player. He might be a worse defender than Malik Monk. He's a worse passer than Malik Monk. He's a worse shooter than Malik Monk. I think Monk is worth grabbing. Some weird stuff can happen, for sure. But Monk's a guy to grab, and then we see where we go from there. With the Stanley Johnson contract still unresolved, Lakers, just sign him. You've got a roster spot. They had to start Trevor Ariza. He played 18 minutes and scored 0 points, but it enabled Taylor Horton-Tucker to have a good game. 33 minutes for Taylor, 19, 4 and 6 with 2 steals on 69% shooting.
Giggity.
That's great. I don't trust it for a single second, but it is at least good to be a streamer. While Melo had 8 points in 17 minutes, Melo is not a 12-team league player. Repeat that. Avery Bradley had 7 points in 21 minutes, while Russell Westbrook, I know all the stats being passed around, it's his first game in so long without a turnover. I don't actually care about the turnovers. He still was shithouse from the line and shithouse from the field. 19, 7 and 2 with no threes is a pretty poor fantasy line. He is now outside the top 65 for the season. But I guess, not turning over 10 times is good. But, when you're only getting 2 assists, a 2-0 turnover ratio is not that great, is it? They also dusted off Dwight Howard. 22 minutes, 14 and 14. After saying now, our new identity is going small. We're always going to go small. We're going to go small. That's it. We're going to go small. Here's 22 minutes of Dwight Howard. So, trying to peg what he's going to do is almost impossible. It's all over the shop. It's up and down. Do not add Dwight Howard based on this. He'll probably go back to a DMP, or he'll play 6 minutes, or he'll play 15 minutes, or he'll play 44 minutes. I got no idea. It's all over the shop with this team, but at least they got the win and they're back over 500. Let's look at the lines of the night now, starting off with the monstrous, and the monstrous does go to Fred VanVleet, who was fantastic. The waiver wire is Bismack Biyombo, and honestly, he might not contribute again at all this season. Don't need to stream him in, I don't think. Young gun is Scotland Barnes, and your dud is the diseased scrotum Ivan Fournier. Your top 10 players today: Fred VanVleet at number 1, followed by Jarrett Allen, then Julius Randle, Ja Morant, Devin Booker, Malik Monk, Budrick Hield, RJ Barrett, and LeBron James. Your top 10 players rostered in under 50% of leagues. We're looking at Biyombo at number 1. No. Dwight Howard. I honestly don't know, but I'm not adding him in 12 or 14. Taylor Horton-Tucker, 14 team. Kiefer Sykes, short-term stream for Wednesday. That's it. Josh Primo, we're just watching him. Torrey Craig, no thank you. Justin Champagne, no thank you. Ken Birch, also deeper leagues. Alex Len, pretty good Alex Len, didn't mention about him. But again, just deeper leagues there as well. And Joe Wieskamp played the fourth quarter in that blowout for the Spurs, and we don't need to care too much about that. Then lastly, we go to points leagues. Randall, VanVleet, Jarrett Allen, Ja Morant, Devin Booker, RJ Barrett, Darius Garland, LeBron James, Jonas Valanciunas, and Bismack Biyombo. Guys, that will do it for us today. Don't forget to follow this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and on the Odyssey app. Give us a thumbs up. Leave your comments down below, guys. We are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.